Good day, everyone, and thank you very much for watching today. Liam Hartery here, just sharing some inspiring tips with you that I hope help you to become a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled human being, living the best version of your life as the best version of yourself, and especially the most authentic version, which leads me into today's topic that I hope helps you. And today's topic, the power of association, who you spend the most time with affects your life. It affects everything about your life. They even say that we become the sum total of the five people with whom we spend the most time in our daily lives. Okay. And this is a lesson that I've been very blessed to learn from working with some very successful people. And I don't mean just successful in terms of wealthy or famous, but I mean fulfilled, happy individuals who are living their best lives. Okay. Power of association. Recently, I was speaking with a gentleman called John Bulgens. John Bulgens is a professional BMX competitor, bike rider, and published author. He's also heavily involved in charity work for Adoption UK, and was also very high up in Harrow Bikes with bike design. He was the inspiration for a movie called The Ride, which you can check out, just called The Ride, starring Ludacris and starring Shane Graham as a young John Bulgens. His book is called Ride BMX Glory Against All the Odds, which you can also check out on any of the usual bookstores like Amazon, etc. Anyway, I was speaking with John recently on an interview on my podcast, Simply Inspired. If you'd like to see that interview, please subscribe to the Simply Inspired channel to find out more about it. But basically, John suffered horrific abuse as a child, sexual abuse, physical abuse, including being thrown into an electric fire. His first memory was actually of that incident, taken into foster care, adopted. You know, the story of his upbringing is horrific. However, he made it out of that situation and is a very successful person today. But where does the power of association come into this? Well, let me tell you, power of association comes into this because John explained that throughout his lifetime, he's had to change his associations um, many times, I would say. But talking about the fact that is most relevant to you in your life, power of association, he explained that as a influential person, as an inspiring person, as a famous and wealthy person, there's no two ways about it. He had a lot of people around him who were draining on his resources, sapping his energy, who were negative and downbeat and had a problem for every solution instead of a solution for every problem. And he had to cut those people loose and surround himself with people who brought out the best in him in order to continue his success. Now, with this in mind, the same thing applies to you in your life. Whatever you're doing, whatever your job, your profession, whatever dream or goal you're chasing, and you must be chasing something, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this. With that in mind, um, who you associate with is one of the most powerful lessons. John actually explained that he had people around him. He was trying to help in many cases, but certain people are beyond help, even though it sounds ruthless, and he had to cut them loose because they were not willing to change. And in order to be a more effective coach and mentor to other people, he had to change tack with who he spent time with. However, this does not just apply to him in that way. This applies to many, many people, including all of you listening to this. People that you spend the most time with, if you've got people around you who are negative, who are downcast, who are not bringing out the best in you, and make no mistake about it, sometimes the people who bring out the best in you are not always the easiest people to be with either. I'm not saying you should surround yourself with a bunch of people who just say yes to everything and whatever. I'm talking about people who really bring out the best in you, even people who challenge you sometimes to be a better version of yourself, people who want what is best for you. Sometimes, even if there's nothing in it for them, these people are reasonably rare, but they are certainly very possible to find and certainly very possible to keep. Now, the reason that the power of association is so powerful, the reason this is such an important lesson is habits, because the people that we surround ourselves with, what we feed our minds, what we feed our, I'm going to say our hearts, what we feed our emotions is just as important as what we feed our body. And what people say to you, the way people are around you, the way that people associate with you has an impact on you. So, with this in mind, you have to realize that, especially when you're growing towards a goal, when you're progressing in life, it's very common to outgrow people when they are not willing to change. If they're willing to change, that's great. But if they're not willing to change, it's very unlikely they will come with you on the journey, and you will have to leave certain people behind because what they say to you, for example, say you're starting your own business, you're hanging out with the same friends you went to school with, even if it's two or three people, whatever, and they'll say to you something like, "Oh man, who do you think you are to start your own business? Because I remember you when we were in high school together, and you were really shy, and you didn't speak to anybody, and you were, I don't know, you had all pimples and you were overweight and nobody liked you. So how can you start a business, man? Well, I mean, what are you thinking?" I mean, it might not put it as harshly as that, or they might. So that immediately takes a person a step back. If you're around somebody that you met last week, last month, last year, you say, "Oh man, I'm starting a business." They say, "Wow, I'm so happy for you. You totally seem like the type of person who could do this. Is there anything I can do to help you? Because I believe in you because you have such a passion for whatever the business is," and they encourage you like that. That's not a false encouragement. That's a real encouragement because they told you why they're giving you that compliment. They're not just giving you a compliment to make you feel good or kiss your ass, right? So with that in mind, with this in mind, it's a black or white example. Some people have great childhood friends, and some people have terrible friends that they met yesterday or they work with or whatever. Point is, who you surround yourself with has an impact on people. It has an impact on you with what they say to you like that, but it also has an impact on what they do around you, their habits, if they're healthy, mentally, physically, if if you've got people around you who do drugs or people who are, as I've already mentioned, negative, or people who have terrible eating habits or whatever, and you surround yourself with these people over and over again, these people, or these habits rather, will eventually rub off on you and you'll start picking up some of them. Flip that on its head. You surround yourself with positive people who are forward moving, progressive, beat. They did a study once. I forget which university it was, but you can look it up. They did a major study with words and the impact of words on our mental and emotional health. Took some university students, read them words like old, grey, tired, fed up, all that type of thing, measured the time that it took them to walk down a corridor. Then they gave them words like upbeat, happy, positive, energized, healthy, youthful, etc. Measured the time it took them to walk down a corridor, and it actually took them more time to walk down a corridor after hearing the negative words. In other words, they were slower, and they walked down the corridor faster hearing the positive words. What does that mean to you? Well, what that means to you is that what we're hearing, even if it's subliminal, is all going into our mind. Even if it's bypassing our conscious mind and it's going into the subconscious mind, it's having an impact. So what you have around you, including what you watch on TV, what you read, all of these things you do daily have an impact on your life in one way or another. So you become the sum of the five people you spend the most time with. So choose wisely. Final thing before I wrap this up, I'm also not saying that you should just cut people loose if they're trying to change, but they can't. But if you've got people who are not willing to change, adapt, evolve, or become better versions of themselves in any way, then cut them loose because they will drag you down with them. But also acknowledge that whoever you spend the most time with has an impact on your life, on who you become, who you will be 5 years from now can be predicted by the five people you spend the most time with right now at the time of listening to this. Maybe it needs a change. Now, to find out more about this, including the practical application of some of these principles, please DM me, contact me. I'm on social media, Liam Hartery. Not hard to find. If you're watching this on social media, even better. You know what to do. ask me any questions, get in touch and find out any ways I can help you with this and many more topics. On the subject of topics, for anybody who wants to know more, please go to the Simply Inspired podcast and you will find out more about these topics, including watching the interview with John if you want to. Many other successful people, over 200 interviews on there with some of the most successful people in the world in their chosen professions. Hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back with more content very soon.